He saved a fellow soldier's life, and 5 days before he was to be honored for it, he was killed. Ayrton Redfearn had joined the cadets at 12, enlisted at 17, and died in Donetsk, doing what his commanders called outstanding work. His mother found out through messages from Ukraine. The award was 5 days away. He never received it. He was 5 days away from being honored for saving a fellow soldier's life. Ayrton Redfearn, a British fighter serving with Ukraine's specialist forces in Donetsk, was killed in action earlier this month before he could receive the bravery award he had earned. Redfearn had joined the 200 Squadron Torquay Air Cadets at the age of 12 before enlisting in the RAF at 17, where he trained as a regiment gunner and senior aircraftsman. He had gone on to serve as a unit leader in Ukraine, where his commanding officers said he had distinguished himself both in and out of combat. His mother said the tributes that had come in from Ukraine brought some comfort to the family.
Huge tributes have come in from Ukraine from Ayrton's commander and brothers about his exceptional service and being an outstanding soldier, whilst remaining the clever, funny prankster, whilst off duty, always able to boost morale. He was 100% locked in and competent when it was time to go to work. His mother and younger brother are finding comfort in all the messages from Ukraine, reminding them that he died a hero.
The Foreign Office confirmed it was supporting the family of a British national who had died in Ukraine. Redfearn's death came as UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper warned that Russia was becoming more reckless and dangerous precisely because Ukraine was succeeding on the battlefield. Speaking to foreign ministers in Sweden, Cooper said the threat from Russia was increasing across air, land, sea, space, cyber and information warfare, and urged European leaders to do more. The week had already seen Ukraine strike an elite Russian command center in the occupied Luhansk region, killing at least 6 people and wounding 39, according to Russian figures. Ayrton Redfearn was due for his award in 5 days. He never received it. A newly declassified US Defense Intelligence assessment, first reported by Bloomberg, reveals Ukrainian forces recaptured nearly 400 square kilometers of territory earlier this year, after thousands of illicit Russian Starlink terminals were disabled. According to the report, Russian forces had been relying heavily on smuggled Starlink systems along the front line to compensate for long-standing military communication problems. The terminals were reportedly used to coordinate troop movements, drone reconnaissance missions, and artillery strikes. But in February 2026, Ukrainian teams working with SpaceX introduced geographic restrictions that disabled authorized Starlink terminals operating in combat zones controlled by Russian forces. US intelligence officials said the impact was immediate. According to Bloomberg and Pentagon-linked assessments, Russian units experienced major disruptions in command and control systems, battlefield coordination, and reconnaissance capabilities after losing access to the satellite network. The report also stated that the communication breakdown coincided with restrictions on Russian military use of the messaging platform Telegram. Russian forces had increasingly depended on Telegram as an informal battlefield communication tool. The combined loss of Starlink connectivity and messaging access reportedly confused frontline Russian units and weakened operational coordination. According to US intelligence findings cited by Bloomberg, Ukraine used that disruption to regain approximately 400 square kilometers of territory during an offensive in southern Ukraine earlier this year. However, Ukrainian officials say the battlefield gains were not driven by Starlink disruption alone. President Volodymyr Zelensky said earlier that operations in southern Ukraine had begun before the changes to Starlink access.
The operation in the south began a month before the decision regarding Starlink.
Ukraine's Minister of Digital Transformation, Mikhailo Fedorov, said, restrictions on Starlink terminals, together with the use of medium-range strike drones, contributed to shifting momentum in Ukraine's favor. Bloomberg reported that Washington considers Starlink critically important to Ukraine's war effort, and that US officials have spent months working with SpaceX to limit Russian access to the system through black market supply chains. Despite the setback, the Pentagon assessment noted that Ukraine's territorial gains did not produce a decisive breakthrough in the wider war. Russian forces continue offensive operations across multiple sectors and are reportedly attempting to regroup after the communications disruption. According to Bloomberg, momentum around talks has slowed as the United States, which had been acting as a mediator, shifted greater attention towards the conflict in the Middle East. The intelligence findings now offer one of the clearest indications yet of how critical commercial satellite systems have become in modern warfare, and how disabling digital infrastructure can directly shape the battlefield. A Romanian F-16 fighter jet, operating as part of NATO's Baltic air policing mission, shot down what authorities believe was a Ukrainian drone over southern Estonia on May 19th, marking the latest incident involving drones linked to the war in Ukraine entering NATO territory. Estonian Defence Minister Hanno Pevkur confirmed that the drone was intercepted after officials assessed its flight path and potential risk.
It was there around noon, and this air threat materialised in the sense that this drone entered Estonian territory, after which, of course, all the necessary procedures that we have previously agreed on naturally followed, and the Baltic air policing fighters were also in the air. In this particular case, Romanian F-16 fighters shot down this drone between Vortsav and Poltsamar. This drone has fallen into a rather marshy area, and we are currently still carrying out these searches. This procedure. Estonia has not given permission to use its airspace to anyone except its allies. And we have not, and the Ukrainians have not asked for this permission either. The Ukrainian Defence Minister has apologised for the incident. At the same time, he was pleased that we had shot down the drone. It is also important to note that this is an ongoing situation.
The incident is the latest in a growing series of cases in which Ukrainian drones targeting Russia have either crossed into or crashed inside NATO member states. The developments come as Ukraine continues expanding its long-range drone campaign against Russian military infrastructure, energy facilities, and arms factories. Earlier this week, Russian authorities reported that one of the largest Ukrainian drone attacks carried out against Russia killed at least 4 people, including 3 near Moscow, while also injuring more than a dozen others. Military analysts say Ukraine's ability to penetrate Russian air defenses reflects both the increasing number of drones being deployed and improvements in Ukrainian strike tactics. Estonia's defense minister said NATO allies have repeatedly urged Kyiv to avoid routes that could bring drones close to alliance territory. The growing number of drone incidents has also fueled political tensions across the Baltic region. Last week, Latvia's government collapsed after Prime Minister Eva Kasilina resigned following mounting pressure linked to the handling of several incidents involving suspected Ukrainian drones entering Latvian territory. Meanwhile, Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service accused Ukraine of preparing to launch future drone attacks against Russia from Baltic territory. In a statement released Tuesday, Russian intelligence claimed Ukrainian military personnel had already deployed to Latvia and warned that NATO membership would not shield the country from what Moscow described as just retribution. However, Latvian President Edgars Rinkēvičs posted on X that Russia is lying about Latvia, allowing any country to use Latvian airspace and territory to launch attacks against Russia or any other country. Later, Latvian government crisis management head Arvis Sails said,
We are currently observing that Russia has launched an active disinformation campaign against Latvia, spreading deliberate lies that Latvia is allowing its airspace to be used for drone strikes by the Ukrainian armed forces against Russia, or that Latvia plans to allow the use of its territory specifically for launching unmanned aerial vehicles from Latvian territory toward targets in Russia. This is deliberately false information. This is a continuation of the disinformation campaign observed earlier in March, when Latvia was accused of allowing Ukrainian drones to use its airspace. Latvia has not permitted the use of its airspace or territory by the Ukrainian armed forces for the purpose of carrying out their self-defense missions.
Latvian President Edgars Rinkēvičs rejected the allegations, stating that Russia was lying about Latvia allowing its territory or airspace to be used for attacks against Russia. Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna also dismissed the accusations while defending Ukraine's right to strike Russian military targets. Now, as NATO fighter jets are increasingly forced to respond to drones linked to the war in Ukraine, fears are growing that accidental escalation, airspace violations, and mounting regional tensions could bring the conflict dangerously closer to the alliance's borders.